And welcome back to the podcast, the Schmeat Nation 3 podcast. I am your host, Commissioner Kale. With me, as always, Adam, Rocket. Moving into the final 3 weeks of the season. Adam, you've secured the playoffs. The first one to do it. How does it feel?
It feels good. It feels good to get the most amount of wins I've ever gotten in Schmeat Nation history. So really just shattering barriers here with 9 wins in the regular season. Team is looking good. Team's feeling good. Get ready for playoffs. Hope next step is to secure that bye week.
It's a competitive coming down the edge here, but looks good. We'll be tracking it as we always do. This is a good week to do a trade deadline in about a week, I think.
I think it is next Wednesday, yeah.
There you go. 1 week from today, get those trades going. I think we've had, two?
One trade?
One trade. Maybe I should have traded. I should have traded, I guess.
Yeah, there's plenty of teams that could have traded, but also plenty of teams that just got ravaged by injuries, which feels bad. It's always tough trading injured players.
Certainly is difficult. But, all right, you know the drill. Let's rip it. Get into the week. Got an exciting one on the docket today. See if I can share my screen correctly here. All right, jumping in. Not too big of a surprise here. I think we both took Jamie, and I put up my usual, and Jamie put up her usual. So that'll do it. Pretty strong performance there, despite A.J. Brown and Debo not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, the team was rough with the bye week, having to start Mike Williams there, and getting -3 from the Browns defense. That is a tough look.
Yep, I thought I keep subbing the Broncos out in certain weeks, and it is not working for me.
The Broncos look the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I don't know. I get scared for some reason. It's like I would never start Kirk Cousins, and yet at the same time, I'm like, I can't start Broncos D. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're kind of losing it. I'm pretty deep into tilt at 4-7, making horrible decisions left and right. So
I do feel like a lot of your losses came off of decisions that you made that very easily could have gone the other way. You just started thinking too much this year.
Yeah, week 1 and against Bradley. So I could have been 6-6. Is that 6? What would that be?
6-5.
Mm-hmm. Yikes, that doesn't feel great. Obvious decisions too, but there's Jamie, secured the dub. I knew
she's looking pretty good. I think she's at like 99% playoff chance at this point.
Yeah, when it turned out that George Kittle was out and she picked up Jonnu and he got a touchdown on the first drive, I knew it was over. And then she gets 28 from him. That just shows the season she's had. She's making the right moves and I'm making the wrong ones. That's going to happen.
Yeah, sometimes that's just how fantasy goes.
Amen to that. Jumping in here, Max putting up a lot more than I thought he would have with the 31 points from Brees Hall. Ultimately falls to Reese. 168 from Reese off a 40-point game from Taysom Hill at the tight end position. And Jared, my God. So
yeah, so just 80 points from half of your points coming in a massive week from 2 players. That's crazy.
It is incredible. But Jared Goff's going to do that. I feel like those Lions are absolutely pounding down on players. I don't know who he plays next week.
They have been, but it's not always through the air. How many he threw for 3 touchdowns?
It must have had more, 4 touchdowns.
It's I guess they scored 7 touchdowns in this game, and I feel like the majority of their touchdowns usually come on the ground. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
But, yeah, I mean, he played Goff because it was Baker Mayfield's bye week, right? So, he's got to fall back on after this. Who gets Mike Evans back?
Who was his tight end? Has he just been streaming all year? I guess so.
He must have been.
Yeah. I think that was part of why his team looked so bad in most other weeks. And then moving into the next one here, Parker takes down Jasper with a 119 off 6 points of Russell Wilson. Just kind of a collapse from some of Jasper's players here. Not a whole lot.
You were really hoping that you would get tight end 1 and then at least QB, top 10 QB numbers from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce this year. And that's what you drafted them for. And you unfortunately sacrificed drafting other positions for that, and it just hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, I didn't really watch a whole lot of this Kansas City game, but I have to imagine Buffalo's game script was just get rid of Travis Kelce, and it worked, and it hurt Jasper. And then on the other side, having these Cleveland Browns is really paying off for Parker here. I feel like they were gross all year, but he's just held on to them, being consistent. So that's good for him. But I mean, at 119, nothing to be too excited about. It's more Jasper playing himself a little bit. Kyron and Alvin had off games. So
Yeah, that is where the majority of his points are going to come from, is those two running backs. And when they only combine for 20 points, it's not going to get it done for him.
yeah, definitely suffered. And then I think we made fun of the MVS play, but he got that big touchdown. It's all he needs.
Parker and Saints
Might have
wide
been
receivers.
literally the only catch. Not 2 catches. Yeah, he's got him on lock. He'll have quite a few of them, and I think he should get Mike Evans back next week. So something to look forward to. He's 5-6, very much
He's
the
in that
mix.
playoff spot right
Yeah.
now. So
There you go. Look at that.
that's all you need
Huge
is
win. Yeah. Yeah, we're not giving enough accommodation. Yeah, good work, Parker. Jumping in here, Andrew dropping just another big game there. I think we had mentioned that he's boom or bust. Doesn't really hit in these 140s, and he's like, I bet I'll get 140.
And it did come off a boom from Joe Mixon. I mean,
yeah,
if
this
Joe
is
Mixon
just what
had
he's
his normal
been
20
doing,
points,
though.
it would have been like a 120-point game for him, which is kind of in that bust category that he's had. But
Yeah, I guess it's fair, but can't argue with it. He did have some off weeks there from Mooney. I think Mooney might have got hurt, actually. Yeah, he was forced out of the game, but
didn't need
not
him.
like Atlanta was doing very much.
Yeah, just a bit of a bummer from Eddie's team. He had a lot of hype around Ricky Pearsall, and it just didn't amount to anything. It was just all Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, I mean, we said it. It's like any one of those guys, and then you get the Kittle rumor. So maybe Ricky or Kittle out, maybe Ricky Pearsall can do it again, and then he just did absolutely nothing. So it's kind of the San Francisco storyline. Like I don't think Debo did anything either. Like
Yeah,
it's really like you watch the games and you're not surprised that it was Juwan the entire game because that's just what it looked like was working, and then they stick with it. So otherwise, just pretty mid. I mean, Puka looks great, of course, but the flex is really an issue, and the kicker too. I mean, how long do you hold the? Oh, he's the 8th ranked kicker, and never mind. I guess you keep him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Oh, he just hasn't had a
his
bye
big
though.
good stretch. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just had a couple off weeks here, which normally he would get those 13 points every game, but now that he's missing kicks,
Yeah.
it's tough, man. It's tough.
And I think, Tim, what did he go this game? Yeah, he missed. Oh my God, he missed
two
2 in
field
this game, and they
goals.
would have won if he had it. So yikes, that's not ideal for him. So, but Bo Nix on the bench. I mean, it's going to be a tough thing. This is why I don't even roster 2 quarterbacks. We're probably playing a bit of defense here, keep Bo Nix away. But like, when are you going to start Bo Nix over Jalen Hurts? I don't know, but it might be a good move down the stretch.
Maybe against the Raiders defense, which they do play this week.
Oh man, there you go. It'll be interesting. But I guess Jalen Hurts. I mean, he plays the Rams. Could be fun.
Yeah.
We'll see what decision he makes there. And then here you go. Just a statement game. Did not expect this from Seth, but man, busts all across the board. I think he just has to wipe it clean while on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Seth's team is as bad as 95 points, but this is just what happens when Baltimore plays the Steelers. So Seth really has to hope. I don't know what Baltimore's schedule looks like, but when do they play the Steelers again? Because if that comes in a playoff week, I would be, and it does come in week 16, the semifinal round. I would be worried if I were Seth seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, this is probably more Terry and Garrett, but of course he did need.
But I mean, Seth's whole team this year,
yeah.
and Lamar dropping 40 points, and then Zay Flowers after the trade getting enough. Like, yeah, obviously, his running backs did about what you expect them to do, and I guess
also Zach Moss definitely out for the season, right? Why is he holding on to? Yeah, he will miss the rest of the season. You don't need to keep this guy, Seth. You could get a different shitty running back.
Yeah. But yeah, my team just doing what my team does, you know.
Yeah, it's just another 150-point week for you. Just cruising on in there. So, and then man, look at this one, Bradley. This is the Adam debuff, the revenge game.
You're a certified Parker hater, and this year I've been certified Brad hater, and I've just been wrong all year.
Yeah, it is.
It's like I look at the team and I just like, I guess it works. Like Josh Downs, I just never liked Josh Downs, but Brock Bowers is a dog. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a dog. James Cook is a dog. I mean, he's just got dogs all around.
Yeah, he's got a great team, and maybe we'll see some respect in the power rankings, and then just absolute devastation. Like Connor, 155, second most points on the week? Yeah, yep, third behind Reese. Yeah, so third most points on the week, loses in a time when he really needs wins. This is why those early games hurt so much. It's probably tough to come back from 4-7, but he definitely has a better team than I do, so maybe he can make it work. I love Juwan, and then he should get Pacheco back at some point.
Yeah, but then, do they just go with sort of a two-headed monster with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco? Does it all fall back on Pacheco? I don't know. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They have to try to keep him for playoffs, being 9-1 or whatever the Chiefs are.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, say what you want about Connor's team losing here, but he is still only one game out of playoffs. That last playoff spot is really up for grabs from anyone because I think Parker and Reese are tied at 5
Yeah, we can keep it ahead of the power rankings here, really show where we're at. Yeah, so you got Parker in at the moment, but then of course Eddie, Reese, Connor, me, and
but
three.
I think
right there.
All of the people at 4 and 7 have more points than both Parker and Reese.
That would make sense to me, yeah.
So it's
definitely Reese. Reese is way down there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Parker's too. So yeah, it's a good point.
It's one of those things where if both those teams lose and one of the 4 and 7 teams wins, they're automatically up, other than your 4 and 7 team. So sorry about that.
True. Yeah. Well, my team's horrible. But we're the pinnacle of consistency. And jumping into the
fantasy football.
Yeah, just the most mid. I play it safe every week. It is not working out. Moving into the power rankings here, biggest changer, Brad getting some love, getting more love from you. Maybe I will be under attack here, but I'm not necessarily going to go too far with the pendulum here. I gotta stick with Andrew after another good performance, but very close. I mean, they're close in points for as well. So.
Yeah, and my reasoning for putting him above those two teams, the Andrew and the Eddie of the world, is just because, his team looks like it's coming together. He's got the best tight end in the league. CJ Stroud, I know he's not been great this year for fantasy, but it seems like he could easily get 20 to 25 points any week. And then just maybe it's an overreaction to how Anthony Richardson looks, but if he is able to get the ball to downs consistently, there's no reason to think that he can't be a viable flex. That was always my problem with his team, was his flex.
Yeah, he had always been a little
strong, but if he's got this week, he's got Romeo Doubs in there, which I don't like. But he was also missing T. Higgins all year, and if T. Higgins does what he did against the Chargers, look out.
And that's kind of they can throw the ball, and their defense is just Swiss cheese in Cincinnati. So he gets a well-deserved break, basically comes back, pops off, and goes right back to the bench. So that'll be nice for him. Yeah, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba, top 10 wide receiver at the moment. I think I saw somewhere he's the wide receiver 4 over the past 4 weeks, including a bye. So yeah, just insane performances from him the past 2 actual games played, and he's getting
double-digit targets now. It's is DK Metcalf still nursing an injury? I don't know what his injury was. If it was something that lingers around, like a hamstring or something. But JSN is really asserting himself as the target machine in that offense.
Yeah, he is taking over at the moment, and at a good time for Brad.
Yeah, I think if his 2 wide receivers in Amon-Ra St. Brown and JSN, and then Brock Bowers are all commanding double-digit targets a game, it's tough to see.
Yeah, you have to. CJ Stroud would have had a fucking amazing game, but they had that first play called back. So first time Nico gets back on the field, and he was already dropping 70.
He would have had about 7
yard
touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, more than that.
More, yeah, it was 6 points. So it would have been pretty solid game to instill confidence after a stretch of just atrocious weeks. So we'll see what he can do here. And then I think one of the other movers, Jay Yip, moved pretty far down. I think it's pretty easy to overreact with Jasper's team, but we've kind of been hating on it all year with just the wide receiver plays. It's pretty gross.
Yeah. I mean, he does have Alvin Kamara on bye, and it's like it always was an Amari Cooper thing.
But
like,
man, he's 53. Like the rankings from the receivers are just
I thought
not.
that Amari Cooper was just going to be a lot better on the Bills.
Yeah, I really don't understand the move there at all, but because they don't use him in really any capacity, it's weird. But maybe it'll really come alive in the playoffs. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for him. And then, Adam has faith in my team. I don't. So we'll see. We'll see who he goes with this week. And then I think otherwise, like Reese gets some love there, quite a bit of love from me. I'm just pretty optimistic about his team and the ability to go on a run. They've been here before, face the adversity, but he is going to struggle with that. Points scored so far on the year. It could be devastating to miss the playoffs if you just fall to that tiebreaker. He's going to make some moves.
Yeah, I mean, Reese's team, it definitely looks like it has the makings of a team that could go on a deep run, just get McCaffrey back. But, like, is McCaffrey still what he was the past 2 years, or is this sort of the end and he's been stuck with the bag? I mean, ESPN still thinks he's the old McCaffrey, projecting 21 points there, but
yeah, my goodness,
definitely hasn't looked like it.
That is crazy from them. So, okay, anything else to touch on? Oh, and Brad moved up. We already touched on that. Yeah, let's jump into it, huh? Rivalry week here in Schmeat Nation 3. We'll start off with me against Andrew.
I always love rivalry. It's always right before Thanksgiving.
Gonna chat out. Andrew took it by 5 points. That was the aforementioned mistake by me. And I don't really have a lot of hope in the team, but I've just seen him go out there and just be the most mid performance ever. But in theory, I've got some decent matchups there.
I do like your team this week. I think the matchups are all right. Maybe Cooper Kupp against Philadelphia isn't that great, but I mean, Tyreek Hill against New England, and then the Washington guys going up Dallas. There's definitely a path there. And then on the other side, I mean, there's paths on his side too. It's tough. Andrew's team is clearly the better one here, so.
Yeah, his team's great. I really just need it to be having that down week, but
yeah, if you scroll down to the graph that compares week by week.
Yeah, he has been a little bit all over, hasn't he? But he's been up. I'm a nice baseline here. This is about 120 points. So it's a good frame of reference. That's all we can do. It's all we can put up. He has not scored below that since week 5. So not ideal, but you never know.
He has dipped back down to earth a little bit in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's tough to keep putting up 180, but does that mean how much did Brad put up? 183?
189. Yeah, so
189
Brad put up
record. We didn't even talk about it.
New highest points for. Congrats, Brad.
For this week, I really should write down somewhere, but someone got over 200, I thought, at one point.
I think Jasper did at one point.
That sounds right. That sounds right for Jasper. I'll go Andrew. I'm not going to nerf my scoring thing here.
I'm also going to say Andrew.
I think it's just kind of over for the season, but it always has been. Jumping into a good one here. Again, Jamie and Parker. Parker has Jamie's number. Do you think that comes into play here as Parker's projected 115 points?
It's like it's one of those things where you shouldn't think that it matters. Where it's like it's independent trials and it's just all random, but like somehow it's the same thing for me and like my loss this year to Connor. There's no reason my team should have lost to his, but I just can't get the monkey off my shoulder.
Can't get it down.
But I mean, clearly there is one team here that belongs in the playoffs and one that maybe doesn't. So,
taking shots. It is. He does have Mike Evans coming back, so a bright spot there. But he does have the Bijan bye, and then the MVS bye that could be in play. As MVS looks great, running the double tight end never feels good, and Alexander Madison's been certainly someone
who can practice today. So
not ideal. But yeah, I mean, Jamie's team is just a good roster, and then you have one that's kind of scraping by. So, not too much to harp on, but I will say you got to be a little worried in Devo. He's not really done anything
Yeah, it's definitely
of
not been a
note.
Debo year,
Yeah, so we'll see if that comes into play.
which is
But
weird.
George Kittle, like, he does his thing.
Yeah. I
I
was
think
just gonna
if
say, like, usually when Debo is healthy for long stretches, he does well, but it just hasn't been that type of year.
the Niners have just been horrible. Like, they've been terrible this year. I don't think it's talked about enough. And then on the bench, though, like Jamie really could have the difficult decision to bench Debo moving into the playoffs. Like the Cleveland Browns just look like they're throwing it like no other. And then Bucky's the good one, right? He's the rookie. Yeah, and
He's
then
the
she's got
rookie,
this
but
guy.
I mean,
So
there's no telling with the Bucks, man, because they have Sean Tucker that randomly had a game there. So I don't know.
yeah, we'll see. And then she's got a guy in Janu. So we'll see if she has decisions. But yeah, I'll take Jamie. I think you're doing the
I'm
same.
also thinking Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, we could be flying through these. So here we go. Seth up against Eddie. Big one, big playoff implications on this. Seth handedly gave Eddie an L. I think this is what started me being the Eddie hater. I was like, yeah, I didn't like the names, and you put up 109. That's what I thought. So we'll see if Eddie can get some revenge here. He has full strength, and he's made the decision to start Bo Nix against Vegas
Yeah,
over Jalen. That's wild. That's quite. But you got to make moves to win games.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where against that Vegas defense, it's been easy to throw on them. It's also been easy to run on them. So is it going to be a Javonte Williams game? That could be a thing.
It does seem like Sean Payton's got a bit of that Dan Campbell in him where they're just going to unload and make sure that they get the win there because they were slinging it all the way to the end. So if they have success throwing it early, it could really be piled on. He looks great. And then on Seth's team, like think he has, he's got the Garrett Wilson bye, which is why he's got a not top 10 wide receiver, but Jaden Reed's probably a good guy to fall
It
back
still
on.
is a wide receiver one. This guy's team is absolutely. How do you have 5 wide receiver ones on the team?
Yeah, that is pretty damn good. And then Josh Jacobs will probably quickly be an RB1, I think, because they had a bye recently. Yeah, and then he came back to his 23-point game. So,
He's been
it's
a solid pick
quite the
this year.
unit. It was such a weird off week, and it always feels so hard to just come back. But he has a great team. You have to live with that score sitting in your app for 1 week, but I think he bounces back here. And I don't hate the Trey Benson play. I think if I'm taking projection here, I'm going to take the over on 6.8 because he's been turning it alive lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they are splitting carries a little bit more there. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know who to take here because I feel like George Pickens has been on a bit of a tear ever since Russell Wilson took over,
Yeah.
and Puka Nacua has been
It
I
just
don't know.
depends if the Eagles focus, like, that'll really test the Eagles' ability to lock down because they've been, it's so like, will they choose Cooper Cup or Puka? I think Puka lately has done a lot more. Yeah, pretty much since he's been back, except for when he threw the punch. So we'll see who they target, but he could get game scripted out by the Eagles, which would be tough to overcome. But he's the guy who does overcome.
Yeah.
So I think,
I
I mean,
think I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
take.
go,
Who are you taking?
I was going to go Seth. I just stick with the
Okay.
rankings.
I was going to take Eddie just for a little bit of parity, and I
Oh,
think
really?
with it
Wow.
being Seth's bye week or a little bit of a bye week here, I don't know. I could see it happening. Need to
All
switch
right.
up. I need
Cool.
to claw my way back in the picks, the game picks.
All right. It's respectable. Never count out Eddie. I'm jumping into your matchup here. The Fighting Deans, 9-2, first player to score. Jasper trying not to get eliminated, which I think hasn't happened yet, but could if he loses this week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just going to be a tough hill to climb over. You have quite the roster here. I mean, you must have some buy. Yeah, well, Jamar Chase buy, so if there's ever a week to do it, but even then the average is over 140. Jasper's down at 124. You got a game against Carolina that'll probably be cleaned up easy. I think it's a tough road ahead of Jasper. He's losing Kamara and Cooper.
Yeah, and I so wish that Justin Herbert didn't have a great week last week, because now I'm stuck in the 2 QB limbo where it's tough to make that decision. I am rolling with Justin Herbert again
I
over
see.
Kyler
My
Murray.
God. Goodness.
Just because, like, after the Cincinnati game and the way that Baltimore has been playing, their defense is like the worst in the league in terms of pass defense. So I'm rolling with the boy again, and I get the stack with Disley in there and J.K. Dobbins. So I've got a lot of stock in the Chargers this week.
My God, but not a bad team to have stock in. I think Justin Herbert's been turning it on. Yeah, my God, 4 in a row above 21. Goodness. He's really come alive after week 8. So he looks good. Yeah, I mean, it's like just the flex is just so far outmatched. Like, obviously, we know what Nico can do, but then Jameson Williams, like if Indianapolis is throwing it, he usually gets a piece of the pie in some capacity. So Jasper's kind of outclassed, and I won't make the mistake of thinking someone can compete with Adam. I'll choose you.
Taking myself as well.
Yeah, I think this one will be tough. But last time we did this, I think you lost to Connor, so we'll see. See what happens there.
Yeah.
And then jumping into another one. I looked at Max's team early in the week because I saw the projection was at 30, and I was like, "What is going on?" And he's got the full team on bye. Can't even start a defense at the moment without dropping someone. I think you can drop the 29th ranked defense. He was making a bunch of moves today, so I'm a little surprised he hasn't. But this is gonna be a tough one to replicate week 1, where Max started 3-0 and has not won a game since.
Yeah, that was such a wild start to the season. Can we look at his roster from week 1? I just want to see what it looked like.
Absolutely. How do I open this in a different tab? I guess I have to dupe.
Just because, like, I think I had him. If I go back to the week 3 power rankings, like, it must have been.
He was up there. He had a phenomenal team. Like,
yeah,
he started week 1 with 148. Diggs and Godwin, like they looked like insane.
I mean, look at all that IR there. That is just unfortunate.
Dak was supposed to have a great rest of season. So like shit like this happens and it's so hard to overcome. Like, and you move into week 2, we had another 140.
Number 1 overall was the Jamba Juice. So
yeah.
What a fall from grace.
Yeah, I mean he put up 174 after back-to-back weeks of 140, and then it just all fell apart, and it has been tough sledding since. So let's look at the line. Yeah, I mean you can see the just steady decline down, although he came back a little bit last week. So and on the other side,
crazy between these two.
Yeah, on the other side, it's just been a consistency problem with Connor's guys. Like not a lot has strung together. You can tell by the 120 average. That usually means he got up and down. But I do love Juwan moving forward because he looked great last week. But
I
Joe
mean, it
Burrow's
really does look like he took over that Ayuk role where, I mean, even last year, I think Ayuk outplayed Deebo Samuel. And so it turns out that instead of Deebo Samuel stepping up, it was just Juwan Jennings. Like, I don't really get that, but hey, I guess it's not really working for them because they're 5-5. But
yeah, I mean, it's certainly working for
Juwan Jennings owners.
Juwan, yeah. He looks good, and then the rest are just kind of but this week I don't necessarily know if it'll matter too much. I mean, who is the best guy in Max's wide receiver and tight end room? Like, is it TJ Hawkinson or Zach Ertz? And he had a dud game last week, so but I think the tight ends do decent against Chicago. So yeah, it's tough.
There's really just not much out there for.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to harp on it too much. I think we're both taking Connor.
Yeah, unfortunately,
this is exactly the type of thing we're gonna watch, and Noah Brown will have a deep bomb touchdown or something.
It'll be like 2 of them.
Yeah, it's like who has this guy? It's Max with the upset. So we'll see if he gets a defense in there. Tough sledding, and then here we go. Rivalry week game of the week. 5-6 giant geckos. Reese trying to carve a path to the playoffs, go up against a 7-4 Amon Ra Dog, and both of these teams are far away from the week 1 performances where they both put up sub 100.
This
And
is
it
I
looks
do
like a
remember
dogfight.
this being Brad's. Like if you look down at his graph, I'm pretty sure he put up super low numbers for the first couple weeks, and I was like, that's when I decided to be a Brad hater.
Yeah, my God, he
I
didn't
was
put
like,
up
look at that
150.
upward tick at the end from week 9
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Hey, he's only
Yeah.
had a couple games above 140. And yeah, look at Reese too. Both the graphs have followed very similar. So these are two teams. Obviously, Reese just a little bit further down because he started with a lower points total, but it's still trending up for him.
Yeah.
Now he's got quite a tough one here, and I think it's safe to say this is a must win. I think going to 5-7 for Reese would put him in a tough spot, like you mentioned, with those tiebreakers.
Yeah,
But
I
of
mean,
course, you
he
never
needs
know.
to have that solo 6th place because I honestly don't think he can come back being down over
Oh,
100
that's not it.
points.
Oh no, not the MMA home. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
to.
to Parker, he's down 120 points, so it'll be tough to make that up the last
Yeah,
couple of
oh
weeks.
God.
Easier things have happened.
Yeah, I
Last
mean,
we only got 3
you can
more
be
weeks to make
trending
up.
right? You get one 190, 180 point game, and it moves the
Right back
mountains.
in it, I
So
guess. Yeah,
yeah, especially if Parker has a staple 90-point game, that'll do it in 1 week.
that's true.
On
Yeah.
Brad's side, everything's really coming together for him. He's got tough bye weeks here, but like the teams, as we mentioned, trending up. Amon Ra now looks pretty solidified, and then Brock's doing great. So I'm
Yeah, like I
fairly
said, those
bullish
wide
on CJ
receivers right
Stroud, but
there, just like if all 3 of those guys are getting 13 targets a game, like there's no reason he can't repeat, the 160, 170.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe Anthony Richardson's confidence is up, but they have quite the matchup this week going up against Detroit. So it could be tough for him. But then I like the running backs too. I feel like their player rankings are a little down because of the bye weeks, would be my guess. But I mean,
Well, yeah, I
averaging
also don't
13 and
think
10.
Tracy started taking over that role until like week 7 or something.
Oh yeah, true. And then he had the injury game, so
Yeah.
yeah. Not terrible there. On Reese's side, I have to imagine he gets a tight end, giving it being a tough matchup. And then the flex, whose flex would you rather have? Ridley, Worthy, Downs, Dobbs? Probably Downs, Dobbs, I
Probably
guess.
Downs, Dobbs, yeah. Was Dobbs really
Uh,
the best play for Brad though? Like,
yeah, I mean, I
I
guess he
guess
could play Adam Thielen.
the bench
He would have
isn't.
just picked this guy up too, so he might be picking him up to play him. Yeah, got him this week. So he woke up and picked up Adam Thielen. It looks like because I think all other waivers went earlier than that. So he woke up at 8,
Well, that's
picked him up.
7:55 for him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, 6:55. Is it
Oh, that's
2 hours?
fair.
It was 2 hours. Yeah. Early riser. Man woke up and it had to add Adam Thielen
For the
before the
playoff
shower.
push, man. For the playoff push.
Need it. So he can make some moves there. But Dobbs, I think, is always good for, some potential deep shots. Oh, no. He only has 2 touchdowns and both came in 1 game. So maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where any one of those Packers wide receivers could go off, but it's kind of like the Niners in that sometimes it's just this one guy's game.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of bodies. I honestly, I actually feel like this. I've talked myself into thinking that this one would be rather close, but then I just, don't believe in Nick Chubb at all. So I feel like Reese kind of loses a guy here because he's probably not going to fall into the end zone, which means he should smash the anytime touchdown. And then Xavier Worthy, I don't know who
I
he's
mean, he
playing
had a
at
good
tight
week
end.
last week, but it's like
He
Xavier
did. Is
Worthy
he
has been.
chasing?
I don't think he's ever
Oh, he
been
is
good 2
chasing
weeks
a
in a
little bit.
row.
Yeah. Literally only this week and even then 11
Yeah,
points.
but
Not
he
great.
might just be playing him for the upside. But even Xavier Worthy is the type of guy where you expect his upside to be like 30 to 35 points just from catching 2 deep bombs. But the most he's ever had on the season is 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough play.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah, I think I've talked myself
Who are
out
you
of
going to
Reese
play
now.
over him? Michael Pittman?
Yeah. Did he do
Yeah.
well last week? Oh God, this guy's having
It's just so bad.
just a horrible season.
I'm taking Brad here.
You're telling me Michael Pittman is better than my average wide receiver? That this thing's cooking, dude.
Well, is
That
it
just
counting bench wide receivers as well?
do I even have wide receivers on my bench? It doesn't matter. I'll go Brad as well if you want Brad.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to choose just to create difference. I just struggle to buy
I mean,
in.
it's a weird week where it feels like all of the matchups are pretty one-sided.
Yeah. Which is weird because I'm
Kind of
sure
like a
everyone
weird-
in some capacity has bye weeks, but
Yeah, I mean, there's 6 teams on bye this week, so
yeah, it feels bad. Alrighty, well, one last peek at the standings. Still theoretically not out of it. I mean, man, Reese actually could be in a good spot because we both think Parker's going to go down. So a matchup would be huge. That would put him in Soul 6 and the Edge. So right,
yeah,
am I
it
correct
really
on that?
does feel
Yeah,
like it's
this is a
5
huge
teams.
week. Yeah.
It's 5 teams fighting for that one spot at this point. Because I don't think, like, the only other way is if one of Brad, Seth, or Andrew start losing. Because there's only 3 games left, so yeah. 7, like one more win from each of those guys and it clinches, right?
That's what you'd think. Jamie's at 8 and not clinched, but my guess is
I guess Parker and Reese could theoretically get to 8 wins and get more points than Jamie. So.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. But they would never do that because that'd be fucking insane. So yeah, Jamie's all but locked up, and then yeah, oof, man, it's coming down to the wire. Going to be exciting to see. I really hope we get a Lamb Bowl in the playoffs in some capacity, but right now it's not shaking out like that. But we'll see. We will see. It's gonna be tough to pull off unless Andrew can slip into that 3rd spot.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can do it. Be such a great Lamb Bowl. All right. Well, anything else you want to see?
No, I think that's it.
That seems like good. Quickly coming to the end. Make sure to enjoy it. Remember that we do this for fun. I've been telling myself that a lot as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to forget that when your Monday is just so sad.
Yeah, it's just
when you're looking at your fantasy roster and you're like, I need 60 points from Adam Vinatieri.
The ESPN app is such a fucking dick. It pops up like your team is currently losing, and it'll just be like the most ridiculous number I've ever seen. It's like you're losing by 60 points. I'm like, all right, well, you didn't need to tell me that. Like, thanks, though.
I know. I've been staring at it all Sunday.
Just throw the phone. Alrighty, good luck, everyone. Got 1 week to make trades. Someone make something happen. Maybe I'll send out a little cheeky trade. Just blow up the team real quick. Anyone wants to do a 4-man trade? Let me know. Let's get wacky with it.
Yeah, I mean, you could also be traded to avoid that beer mile.
I'm certainly trying. All right, everyone. We'll see y'all on the flip.